Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. Today is Tuesday, and it has tended to lean more to the patriotic side over and over as our country has just seen what has been happening to it lately. So we're staying with that theme. My buddy Satoshi Sean is joining me today. And so I wanted to introduce you to someone that has come into my life. I'm really thankful for. Her name's Felisa, and she has been a big part of I believe she founded the Patriot Party Rocks, and she invited me to speak at in South Dakota for 4th of July. And I got to be a part of that and talk to some people about cryptocurrency and freedom and sovereignty of your wealth. And was really grateful to be a part of that. She's also introduced me to some efforts that she's doing, some really radical things to help move our country back to where our founding fathers, what we intended this country to be. And so I really want to support the work that she's doing and introduce you guys to some of that so that you can be a part of those things if you choose. And so I'm going to bring her on and talk about some of the efforts that she's doing, see if that's something that speaks to your heart. So we'll be right back with my friend Felisa from Patriot Party Rocks and tell you guys about the Marigold Coffee Club. Be right back after these quick break. So give us a like, share this video. Let's get that word out there. Thanks for joining us, Sean. Thanks for coming back again to be my co-host and help me through another Tuesday. Today was my first full official day being a homeschool mom. My mind is a little lean on you heavily. Felisa, thank you for joining us. I was really excited when you reached out to me. You told me and sent me some information about the McCarran Act, and maybe hopefully we have some time to touch on some of that today. But I was really excited when you reached out after inviting me to join you at Sturgis and have the opportunity to come talk to the people with the Patriot Party Rocks and all. I guess we should start there, how that kind of rolled out and what you built there when, I guess that was in 2018 that you guys brought that giant flag out?
No, that was 2020.
Oh, that was 2020. Okay.
Yeah.
At the super spreader event.
It's
the
been
super spreader of the American
Lisa.
flag. Yeah. We're all in a time warp. Yeah. So kind of tell everybody how that got started and where you are up to the point of where you are now.
So for the first event that we did at Sturgis was in 2020. Before the election, I was working a corporate job and didn't realize that I was really kind of helping deep state and being a part of it, working in the corporate world, hooked into the hamster wheel, going on my 4th year, being #1 in the globe and working for the wrong people, right? And God calls us, and sometimes we understand that, sometimes we don't, but once we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, it's really hard to keep working within that same realm. And it came to that point where I was aware and just, could not participate in that world anymore and needed to decide what to do. And so, more or less, I kind of got down on my hands and knees and was praying on what to do. And my Bible opened up to Psalms 33 and a tear fell on it. And I convinced myself that, God gave me a sign that this is what I need to do, throw a party in his name. And I can do that. But then by dinner, I convinced myself, this is just wishful thinking. And the next day I got a text from a random stranger who's a friend of mine to this day, who had taken down my contact information from someone else and had said, hey, your event was really great. And it was, sorry, I keep getting messages. And I feel compelled to tell you to read Psalms 33. Now, it wasn't my event. it was somebody else's event. And, but the fact that it had event in Psalms 33 in it, right? So I decided, all right, that's it. I'm laying down my corporate shield and I'm picking up my Patriot shield, and gave my steering wheel to God, and have gone wherever he's asked me to go. It's not always, like a whisper. Sometimes it's a good thwack on the back of the neck, right? That says you need to be here. So Sturgis was one of those things that a friend of mine, Dane Sensor, and his brother John had a flag event. I was asked by Gene Ho to get involved and help them create an event out of it. And that's where our friendship in that event was born. And it was under a lot friendlier circumstances where, Trump was going to be there. This year, Kristi Noem was told that she could not have fireworks there. So we decided to carry on anyway. And it turned out to be a fabulous event. Everybody that was supposed to be there was there. And for the first time, we actually had someone, Ben and Lisa. Lisa, you had brought your friend Ben to help us try to understand this world that is quite confusing to people like myself I'm traditionally used to someone else handling, like the corporate world. That's one of the benefits. So I know nothing about my retirement. I know nothing about my investments. And I think that it was really, really important. We touched on other topics like, child trafficking and things that other people don't really do that are super important. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's all about the children and our money, right? That's what they want. So, we better learn, we better listen up. And it was a really great experience. And so, Lisa, I was actually introduced to you by my friend Doug Kuhn. And Doug Kuhn, I had met after another event. I was actually introduced to you by my friend Doug Kuhn. Oh, we got a little Kuhn. I had met.
I do not know why we have an echo. There's an echo. So I'm sorry. And there was I tried to mute a mic somewhere. I'm not sure where that's coming back, but hopefully that kind of clears itself up. So sometimes these things, I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you get an update on the website on Patriot Party Rocks? Because it looks completely different since the last time I was on there.
Did I do an update?
Or am I looking at a different?
It's the Patriot Party .rocks.
Okay, so I'm looking at
it could be a different one. I'm not really sure.
Well, I'm looking at a fake. So let me.
Yeah, it hasn't changed too much since the last event because we've not posted the next one, which is going to be the NASCAR event.
You said something that I think everybody really needs to kind of absorb, because I have a problem with this, and that's just accepting signs. When you get a sign from God, the universe, a loved one, something, you need to accept it. And I'm like, it's wishful thinking, like you said.
Yeah,
I'm reading into that. I'm wanting to see that, but it really is. I think everyone just needs to be a little bit more open to it. Because like I said, I'm the most guilty. I always kind of way too hard on myself on it, but I think that's something we all need to do.
Yeah, I think it's because we've been taught and programmed that we're not worthy. And the fact is that we are all worthy. That's why God's called us, and that's why we're answering. And they don't want us to know that secret. And that really is the secret. And it's almost like, remember those Beanie Babies when we were growing up that you would squeeze? I think they were called glowworms. And they would squeeze and they would light up in the center. And when we see each other, Lisa, when we met, we knew it. We met with utter embrace, and I genuinely loved you. You genuinely loved me instantly. Where in your lives can you guys say that you've been experiencing this over and over? That is God's love. That is God's light. And when we let it in, it radiates out, and some people can't see it. You ever notice how you have to slam your head
even while you're saying that, I'm getting chills. And I think a lot of people in the crypto community have that too. We're doing these meetups.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they'll be drawn to different cryptocurrencies or projects.
Right.
And people are like, why are certain people drawn to certain cryptocurrencies or certain projects? And it's like, and they'll be like, oh, you're Litecoin fam or you're Digibyte fam or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's because we are this frequency. And Uncle
I
Cliff
agree.
talks about it, that our DNA is that helix, which is an antenna, which is the way we talk to God.
Right.
You know, that whole universe, higher self, whatever.
Yeah.
So I really think that is that learning to listen, and part of that is prayer, meditation, all that, and trusting that when we do hear it. And they want us to be busy, afraid. They want to disrupt that frequency,
Of course.
so that we can't hear that. And
Yeah.
we can't connect with each other to be stronger in hearing that voice too. I think that's a lot of it too.
Right.
So what you're doing and bringing us all together, I think is so powerful too. So I'm really grateful for all of that. So this Patriot Party Rocks, I know that was kind of the genesis of getting people together. You've started these events and opportunities. We did the Mount Rushmore event, which was amazing. I was terrified, scared to death, intimidated, but I braved it up. I brought Ben because I was terrified, intimidated. Now I feel like, okay, I think I see a little bit more where I could contribute a little bit more, where I could really teach people there, because I think in that environment, they understand freedom and all that, but I don't think they understand sovereignty of wealth. And I think that's where I really could contribute more. So I'm really excited. I hope that I can be a part of the next event. I know you were talking about the NASCAR, and one of my good friends is a NASCAR driver, Landon Castle. I'm not sure if he's going to be racing at the next event, or if there's going to be a race going on while
Does he race in the Sprint Cup Series?
I'll have to ask him.
Okay. Yeah, that would be terrific. You know, NASCAR is one of the only sports that has refused to kneel. And so that's one of the reasons that we've decided that we're going to, lead with NASCAR. Our contract is with NASCAR. So that's really big. Our first event will be at Talladega. We had tried going the route with the individual race tracks, which is a much longer path. We thought that it would be a shorter game. But, you know, they don't necessarily run it. NASCAR runs it. So we really had to go to the top. And there was some resistance. They have a Black Lives Matters car, but there were some people that were objecting to red, white, and blue tour. So you have a problem standing for the flag? Like, that's our message. It's really that simple. America is great. It has never changed. The story that they're telling about America is all that's changed. There's believers and the deceivers. Which side are you on? Either you believe or you're trying to deceive. And, you know, those people who are deceiving, trying to tell the lies, I can't tell you a time in history where you can show me or pull out, and I challenge you, if you can, show me a time in history where it's revealed that they were the ones who were telling the lies, that they end up prevailing as the good guy. They're not good people. If you're deceiving, it's because you have something to hide, and what you're hiding is not, y'all
said a lot of things that really kind of interconnect here. First, I want to say hey to everyone in the chat. Chris is here. Tom, there's so many people. Really appreciate you guys. But, you know, Lisa said that people don't really understand sovereignty when it comes to their wealth. And then everything you said really goes along with that. People don't understand sovereignty, period.
Right.
They don't understand their individualism, because that has been what's really been attacked for years now.
Health. I mean, when we look at
your individualism, whether it comes to your individual rights or your individual, when it comes to like how you want to raise your family, how you wanted to do things, that's what America was founded on, was individualism. And it was, you can do whatever you want. And it all started with the thing of not offending people. And that was the worst thing, because America was founded, and I've tried to make this point for years and years. America was founded on offending people. It was literally people came here and said, you know, we can't do this there because we offend our religion, the way we worship God, the way we do whatever offends them. So they say we're not allowed to. So we want to come to this place and make a place where we can do whatever we want and we can offend whoever, as long as we don't hurt anyone, or we don't force what are things that they're offended by, force it on them. That's it. We're free to live. You're free to do whatever you want, and pursue happiness.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to offend people, and you have to understand that you can do whatever you want because you're going to be offended. But no one's going to hurt you, no one's going to harm you, and no one's going to force you to do what's offensive to you. You know, people, an atheist can think your praying is so offensive to them, but you don't force them to pray or else you'll harm them.
Right.
You know, that's what America is. It's literally founded on the freedom to be offensive and just not harm anyone. Whereas all through history, it's whoever has the power. If they find something offensive, they can force you to stop. And that's how it's supposed to be. But the attack on sovereignty and the attack on freedoms, that's where it all starts.
That's the safest environment. I mean, coming from as somebody in the foster care world, foster mom and an adoptive mom, and watching how, I've seen how where they've used confidentiality, and I've seen confidentiality be misused. That is a dangerous thing. Transparency is the safest environment.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know someone's beliefs, and I want to know if you truly believe everybody should be completely free on their speech and ideas. Now, I'm not saying they should physically harm or bring harm to someone else. That's not, imposing that on someone else. No, that's wrong. But they should be able to freely speak and express their ideas, because that truly does keep everyone else safe. Because then, do not go near that person. Do not send your child to that person's home because they sexualize children.
Right.
And they are free to speak that. Those kind of things, when we're all free to speak our ideals, that really is the safest environment for everyone. So that's the kind of thing where they want us all to be quiet, because then in the darkness, the mushrooms grow, that's
Sure.
where evil grows.
Sure. And our country was founded on those principles, on those ideals, really. And it's interesting that you kind of segued into that, Sean, because the reason I thought the reason, Lisa, that you wanted me to be on the show was to talk about a group that we had started based out of New Hampshire, where I'm from, Windham, New Hampshire. I'm one of the forces behind the Windham audit. We only had one county, one township, one town in the state of New Hampshire that actually challenged the audit. And out of that, we had an audit only for our town. But we're the only ones who have stood up in New Hampshire. Our hope is that, when someone stands up to do the crazy dance, it's never the first person, right, Lisa? It's always the second person that stands up and does the crazy dance. And then everybody else goes, screw it, I'm going to dance too, right?
Right.
So Arizona was the first, and it gave us the courage to be the second. And the reason that we started Marigold Coffee Club was because I had started the 50 state rallies with actually ahead of Ali. And then Ali, having all of his width and breadth of followers, although he's gone into hiding, God used him in that way, right? God used Cain, and he also used Abel. So, he sends out, someone who has a much bigger presence on social media than myself. God's calling for me was to be a bass cheerleader, not a main player. So we were doing these, 50 state rallies at all the capitals every Saturday after the Steele November election. And, I wasn't even supposed to go to my own state, but my girlfriend, who was going to be doing New Hampshire for me, she couldn't do it the night before. So I ended up standing up and doing it. And lo and behold, did I start finding out about all this horrible stuff about my own state. And Trump was spent 4.5 years trying to tell us about the Constitution. And I was going, yeah, you guys have a problem over there. I was doing events in South Dakota. I was doing events in Maricopa County. Little did I know that even little New Hampshire and Pennsylvania and, Boston and all these places that are familiar to me that I thought, would be safe havens because they're so old, they're not, they just do things the way they've been doing it. This has been going on for a long time. And our sovereignty, which is something that's really important to you guys, people don't realize that that's actually what we're fighting for. Because did you know the original state flower back in 1776 and forward, 1776 was actually our birth. So during our birth, we chose a flower. It was the marigold. The reason it changed from the marigold was because we became under the influence of Great Britain again, because we were sold. Okay, you guys know this, your audience probably know this. We were sold like chattel in an agreement, in a contract, back to the British Crown for our debt. So each one of us were then used as collateral. During that process, we adopted the same rose under the British Crown. So if you're not sure, go and look up Great Britain's country flower and then look at ours. Why are they the same? We were originally the Marigold. So Marigold Coffee Club became a hiding place for patriots who had participated, either going to January 6th or just active patriots who no longer felt safe, but they still wanted a place to be able to talk about it and to try to be effective. So under the guise of this name, we started having some chapters. We now even have a chapter in Hawaii. We have a few chapters. We need, people to help. But under this, under a non-political agenda, we have decided that we wanted to try and affect change. In New Hampshire in particular, we were able to create legislation that would audit our vote. But guess what? They even managed to take hold of that. They brought in and selected for us on behalf of we the people that were part of the verified voting team. Mm-hmm. Kirsty and all of these, we had 3 auditors who had penned letters to the Arizona before their audit. Now keep in mind, they're our inspiration. These letters were penned to Arizona saying there was no audit. Don't even bother. We're auditors, we're the experts, and we're telling you right now, there's nothing to see here, right? Look over here. And this is who our state selected to yet further perpetrate a lie upon the American people. So they come out with the audit results after all this time and money, all of our efforts, door knocking, months and months and months of tireless work. There's so many great groups in our states and in your states. We have like 5 or 6 unbelievable groups trying to work together to affect change. All of that energy and promise and hope was stolen because the auditors came out with a report, and the report said, guess what? 60% of it is because we accidentally folded the ballots in the wrong place. They all gave a little shadow, for example, across Biden's name. So if you then subsequently on your ballot went to go check off Trump, it would cast it out as an overvote and throw it away because guess what? You can't vote twice on a ballot. They already had it folded so that your selection was automatic. And if you disagreed, out the window it went. So we said, you know what? Fine. There was no steal. It wasn't a machine accident. It wasn't a human error. It wasn't that we miscounted it in the recount. It wasn't that we discovered that 10% straight across the board, every single Republican candidate had 10% snatched out of their bowl of votes and given only to the Democrat and never the other way around. That was not an anomaly. You're right. It was Foldgate. So guess what?
That's a 20% difference.
It's huge. So guess
minusing 20 from them and then adding the 10, that's 20%.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So let's just get rid of the machines and then we won't have to worry about Foldgate again. Either way, whether we're right or wrong, no matter what we say, we're going to be wrong. But what we've done is we've taken their words and we flipped them. Eat this. You're right. You win. The folds. The machines can't read the folds. No matter how we fold our laundry, the machine will never say it's laundry. So guess what? Let's just get rid of the machines. That solves everybody's problem. I don't care which side you're on. Get rid of it. Let's vote Amish. It's been being done for hundreds of years. And guess what? If you all look at your state legislation, each town, and this is the way it works, it has to be voted on upon the town by town by town. So this is completely grassroots. The tools on Marigold Coffee Club. If you guys want help for your state, reach out to us. But guess what? You can't create legislation for your town to say the experimental, just like the vaccines. You see the theme here? It was supposed to be a trial for the machines. There's no end date. You guys, we've been on a perpetual trial with these machines. And
Just
they
like
claim that they're
taxes.
Well,
old.
the lockdown was for 2 weeks, just
Yeah.
to flatten the
They
curve.
say
That's
we
right.
need brand
15
new
days.
machines. I've got an idea. How about we save all of that and we all participate, and we all, because we're all going to do a recount anyway, let's just save our tax dollars. Let's save all that money and let's go to hand cast ballot. In fact, I would love it if we joined in the Europeans and we had to stain our thumb, right?
Yeah.
And so we could walk around. So anybody that's talking smack about, this vote and that vote, I'm sorry, but if your thumb's not purple, you can't talk. There's your tape. There's your mask, buddy. Right?
Yeah.
But if you voted, then I do want to hear what you have to say, because we're not that far off. The proverbial left and the proverbial right, we're talking about the same things. We're just coming at it with different language. And that is where they have us mastered. They have us mastered through the language. So let's take their language and turn it back to them and make them eat their words. They're right. It may or may not have been stolen, but either way, the machine's the problem. So get rid of it. I'm done arguing.
With talking about the grassroots stuff, I don't know if you're familiar with Project Sunlight that Beatles is doing, but that's the focus of it. He's like, forget about forget about Washington, forget about all that crap. It all starts here, starts in the town, starts in your county, state.
It does.
That's where you got to go from.
I sent this to him because he's trying to coordinate. He's trying to take all these grassroots efforts and
I
get
was
them
thinking
all
that myself.
coordinated
Project
to be
Sunshine? You said?
Project Sunlight.
Operation
Sunlight.
Operation Sunlight.
I love that.
And that's what I shared when we were there in Sturgis.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking about people not realizing, and we're talking about sovereignty earlier. People don't like, young people especially. They think rights come from the government, and rights don't come from that's why they're rights. The government's only supposed to be there to protect your rights.
That's right.
And they can't give you any rights because they're your rights. If it's a right, it's not for anyone to give. It's yours. You have it.
It's God given. Rights are actually the origin of our rights, and the origin of the Constitution is from the Magna Carta, which is from our God-given rights.
Yeah,
that's where all that came from.
And to put my tinfoil hat on, because I do enjoy wearing it. Rice actually sent me a tinfoil hat. He sent me a ball cap, but it's lined inside with this metal that can withstand an EMP pulse. It's heavy, but it's really cool. Anyway, year and a half ago, when everything started with the sickness, I said, what section of the population in the world, but just looking at America, knows the most about their rights, has lived with having had the most rights and the least amount of government? And it's old people. Old people know the most about their rights. They've lived with the least amount of government intrusion in their life. They know how things should be. Mm-hmm. They also vote. They are involved politically, and a lot of them are the biggest drains on the government resources. So in the beginning, I said, this is going to wipe them out. This is who it's focused on. And if you look at what Cuomo did with the nursing homes and all, it seems to me anyway, that there's like a concerted effort to get rid of that section of the population. because they're the biggest
The
impediment.
Greatest
knowledge, the
generation.
wisdom.
Yeah, the wisdom and the knowledge, and it's the greatest threat, to their agenda. Not only can they just say no, it's not supposed to be that way, but they can actually teach others and enlighten others. So that was one of the I think I've always thought from the beginning that was one of the biggest targets.
You're onto something. There's a lot of wisdom. But as far as kids, I just want to do a little plug here for a minute. For everybody out in the audience, Lisa, you guys should look into a group called Today's America. I had a conversation with them earlier today. My favorite is Tim. He's just wonderful. But it's this group of TikTok influencers. They have 40 million cumulatively. And they are these little Charlie Kirks running around that are more awakened than I think I was, back in January of 2020 when I first started waking up. They're dialed in and they're going around talking about, sovereignty and taking a stand where it's right to take a stand. And they are trying to teach people how to basically headline, meaning make a difference through an impact without being in the way. And we could learn a lot from them. I think that, we, in some ways, we become our parents, right? The best rock and roll, the best, we've had the best years. We are, our generation is the one that's kind of leading the way. Well, we have to some point, but we have to be willing to share the limelight with others that are younger than us, because not all of them have been indoctrinated. And I often wonder, looking at them, these TikTok generation, like, Lisa, I was saying to you, I'm so lost with Bitcoin and staying true to it. But when something breaks on my iPhone, I reach out to my, college age boys, and 2 clicks and they're like, oh, that was dumb. Here you go, mom. And I feel like an idiot. I mean, literally, between my friends who are even tech gurus and that generation, they have been poised with knowledge, indoctrinated, yes, but as easy as they've been indoctrinated is as easy as we can unindoctrinate them. There's a gap between the grandparents and the children, and it's our job to be that bridge between that knowledge. And I think that in that way, our gift, the reason why so many of us are lighting up like glowworms, I really think that is what our job is, our generation, is that we're to be the bridge between the old and the new, between the indoctrination, between the lies and the truth, between the believers and the deceivers. I mean, it's really our generation that's calling out the church, right? My parents, absolutely dedicated. My grandfather was a minister. They never challenged the church. Through the years, that was not okay.
Right.
The youth may or may not take the church because they weren't raised like we were, where you better go to church, CCD, or whether you're Catholic or whether you're Christian, being baptized. Those weren't an option to us. Neither was going to college, right? I mean, Lisa, was it, basically beat into you that you weren't done with school till you were done with college? Yeah. What do you mean you're going to work after high school? Yeah, after you get your college degree. There is but nobody bothered to listen to us, to what we might want to do. These really fabulous, institutions, or what do you call the tech schools? Yeah, the tech schools. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. And
trade schools,
we don't know, you guys.
And that's good money. That was, I remember growing up.
It's
it was
good money, and we're so quick to dismiss them.
In the 80s and early 90s, it's like if you wear a tie, you're important. That's a good job.
That's
right. But if you get your hands dirty, you're a grunt. It's not. That's not. But then, I mean, do you know how much
separated
air conditioner repairs we make?
I mean, they even separated prisons by that, though, Sean. They would call them blue collar prisons and white collar prisons.
Yeah, because it was for a white collar crime.
Jobs and white collar. Yeah. Even crimes were described that way. That's incredible. I'm
So
just
these
going
kids
back to
on-
what you were saying, though, Felisa, talking about where I think talking about the truth and the how previous generations didn't challenge authority, the
Right.
white coat, the jacket, the doctors, the whatever, authority wasn't challenged. The church, doctors, whatever, wasn't challenged. Now kids are challenging authority. They're challenging, and they're recognizing the truth. When you hear the truth, like when we met, our friendship resonated and the glowworm thing happened.
Yeah.
These kids are hearing stuff and they're like, that doesn't smell right. I don't trust that.
Well,
Today,
I think
Spike Lee announced that he is coming out with 2 documentaries, one about September 11th and one about the Great Infection. And I think the truth is going to resonate with people. And I think a lot of that's going to be the youth. And I think they're going to watch it. Yeah. And I think
Well,
they're going to be
I think we're at a critical time now. Like right now, we're at a very critical time where
I agree.
It could be a total takeover. And I've talked to Beatles about this in length. It's not going to be a long time from now. It won't be the next generation or anything. It's now.
I think it's now.
I think
this is
so
the Great Awakening.
There either will be like a Great Awakening, or there's either way. I think there's going to be a fight, and that I thought there's going to be a fight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there's going to be a huge fight for a while now. I think what you were talking about, though, we've always questioned authority, but there's been some authorities where it was like taboo to question,
right?
Like the church. There's certain things you
question the church.
Yeah, you don't question the church. You don't question school. I mean, there's certain
but
institutions.
Now the Pope is coming out saying that basically it's in the Bible to get the jab, and now we're seeing,
people going, no, it's not.
Right,
yeah.
But now we're seeing,
so they're leaving the church instead of staying and arguing.
Yeah.
We would have stayed with the church and argued.
My mom was she has a doctorate in theology. She was a reverend. I was raised Catholic. My mom was Catholic. She wanted
in the military.
She wanted to get divorced, and the church said, no, you can't get divorced. So she said, well, I'm not going to be Catholic. We're Methodist. And she became a Methodist reverend. She went to Drew University, was a master's, got her master's in theology first, and then got her doctorate later on. But I don't know if you remember back in the 80s where there was the first, it was all the scandal with like Jerry Falwell, and it was all at once, all of these, mega churches, all these mega churches and these big, evangelists, stuff was coming out that they were, like perverts or cheating on their wives or stuff like that. And my mom had this really, really big problem with it. She was like super depressed. It's like everything with the sexual kids scandal with the church or with the Catholicism. But this was, the mega churches back. It was in the late 80s. And it was a huge blow because it was like, look at these Christians and they're all hypocrites.
Don't forget the Boy Scouts were in on that too.
But my mom, she was like, she was praying. It was a really big bad time for her. And then she had this revelation. And she said that God told her this, and she went out speaking on it. That she was like, why is this happening? And why is, this is hurting your message? And she said that God told her, what are you talking about? I'm the one that brought it out. I'm the one that exposed it. This, do you think this was supposed to, go on? She said, it's like you said, transparency. This had to be shown. The light had to be shown on this because it's not supposed to be that way. But it was a huge revelation for her, and I remember a huge weight was lifted off her from that. I lost my train of thought.
It warns us in the Bible about churches becoming
idols,
a deception. Yeah. That we need to be cautious of the churches. And if you think
you're talking about the Pope changing stuff. That's it's I don't know how you guys are Catholic. I don't want to hurt Catholics' feelings, but there's so much in Catholicism that doesn't go with the Bible. Like when you go to a priest is a guy, and the priest forgives you for your sins when you go to confession. And it says in the Bible that no man comes to the Father but by me, by Jesus.
You have a direct relationship with God.
You don't need,
the church
and that's actually, that goes against it. A guy can't say you're forgiven for your sins. And they literally say that, I forgive you for your sins. Go do this penance, 20 Hail Marys or whatever. And that's not how it's supposed to go. There's a lot of other weird stuff with Catholics. But like I said, my family's Catholic. I don't want to crap on the Catholics. But
I think that's where God knows everybody's heart and their intention to.
And that is it. Intent matters.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's been lost.
Is what God judges you on, and we're all, seeking him and having that relationship with him. And if the way you figure it out is that you were raised Catholic, and your way of seeking him is that you go to the Catholic Church, and you were taught that the way you talk to him is that you go talk to that guy, and maybe that's the way you understand it. I don't think God punishes you for understanding that you go sit in a box and talk to a man and you think that's how you talk to God. Like, I don't think anybody misses out on talking to God because that's the way they were taught or they understand.
Right.
Do I think the church is accountable for teaching people that? I think the church
that intent matters. People have forgotten that. People have forgotten that. People have been programmed that intent doesn't matter. It's just the act. And intent is the difference between like a racist joke and just a joke.
Right. I absolutely agree. That's something that I think about, and I talk to my kids about all the time is, look, we're infallible. We're fallible. We're infallible. We're human. We have wings. We don't have wings. We are what we are. We resonate with the same blade of grass, but we have the ability to reason. So if we use that common sense, does it make any sense that we hold others accountable for things that we want them to hold us not accountable for? Let me explain. I said something to you, but that wasn't my intention. I want you to judge me based upon my intention. I don't want you to judge me, but we're going to judge each other. We can't really help it. Isn't that what discernment is all about? That's another, very confusing thing from the church is we're taught to give and give and give. We're taught to go out and preach to the lepers in the street. And then we strap them to our back, we bring them home, we wipe their ass, we feed them, we get them a job, etc. No, I'm sorry. No. I'm just learning since January 2020, that Christ went out in the street, he preached to the lepers, and then he left them there and he went on. And he would teach them to fish, and then they would go out and fish for themselves, right? Part of what we've learned is that we're supposed to be responsible for everyone else, not connecting with everyone else. They've taken that direct connection, which is what you hit on, Sean. They took that direct connection with each other, the God within us, right? And we have to go through someone else in order to have that bond, in order to have that relationship. And so somehow we've had that with each other too, right? You have to be introduced to me, Lisa, by a common friend before we can have that bond. No, that's not true. God has chosen our bond. And when we saw each other, we recognized each other. Mm-hmm. And this is never happened to the left before. That veil has never been lifted before. And our generation had a lot to do with it. But I think the ones that are going to carry us across the goalpost are these younger kids, because they are the ones who can look at it without that prejudice that we were basically abused, you guys, by our churches. I hate to say this. My grandfather's a minister, so I'm not talking about the pastors. I'm talking about the business of a church, okay? Right. The 501c3 that our government allowed somehow Scientology to be the same as the Congregation Church, the same as the Catholic Church. It became a hiding ground and a breeding ground for crimes. Apparently it has been for centuries. I'm not saying that it's the lower echelon. I'm saying that at the higher levels, it's organized crime. And I have more respect in some cases for organized crime in Boston and Chicago, because at least they have a moral compass, right? A threshold with which they will not cross. I'm sorry, but what I've seen from the deep state is a perpetual moving target. It's global warming. If everything else didn't work and nothing else works, we'll just cast global warming onto it. We'll just lasso that around it and we'll use that message. It's constantly moving target. It's never the same thing. What's the truth? It comes down to basically you have believers and you have deceivers. There are believers and deceivers in the church. We were taught that we were supposed to be up here, but it's really not. And what has happened is it's kind of like leveled the playing field. We're still sorting through it because of our prejudices and the way that we were raised. It's harder for us to discern, right, guys? I mean, can we admit that? It's harder for our generation than for my son who just came home from work, hi, Caden, than it is for him to discern, because he can look at it as a new piece of equipment, as a brand new iPhone. He gets the iPhone 12 and he's like, oh, there's no button. Well, that's easy. Blum, blum, blum. It takes me like 3 weeks. I'm still asking him, hey, how do I get to this? How do they instinctively do it? Because they don't have the prejudice, right? They don't have the
We have all the old programming that we're trying to
as
disconnect.
fast as they have programmed these kids in school, as fast as they are able to unprogram. And that they are more resilient than any generation prior to us. And I'm watching it.
I think one of the keys in trying to do like what you were saying is just keeping things very simple. And I don't try to tell people what I think. I don't try to give them my view. I just try to give them information, especially when it comes to conspiracy things. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what I think, but here's some facts. This, like, what, that happened? This happened? They're like, yeah. And they're like, well, then obviously this happened. I was like, hey, that's your opinion, man. Yeah, I agree with it, but okay. Like the masks, it says on the box, it doesn't work on the box. And whenever you ask someone that, they just move on. No one likes that.
Have nothing to say.
And my niece is so indoctrinated. I mean, like the poster child. And I'm like, April, it says on the box, these masks do not prevent or slow the spread of viruses, specifically, the sickness. I was like, why is that on the box if it works?
Why don't we have to wear glasses? Why
Uncle
don't we wear earplugs? We have other things,
Well, but then when someone's hardcore, I say, look, dude, you're wearing this dirty cloth mask all the time, and it's not helping. Yeah. It's not helping. It was supposed to slow the curve, for a couple of weeks. That doesn't mean it's going to, and they even now started saying saves lives, stops. It doesn't. It just was supposed to slow it. If you're going to get it, people are going to get it. That's how it was. But it's just less at one time. But I say, hey, listen, if, a virus is tiny, it's microscopic. If I am on the other side of the room and I fart, and it goes through my underwear, goes through another pair of shorts and some thick sweatpants, and then it goes across the room. Do you smell my fart? And they're like, yeah. I was like, that's way bigger than a virus. And that's 3 or 4 layers of clothing versus your thin little mask. If I eat an onion and then start talking to you with a mask on, are you going to smell the onion? Like, oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, I didn't think about it that way. I was like, yeah. So it's just keeping things really simple.
Yeah, common sense.
To work. Yeah, common sense. And that's just hey, man, just critical thinking and common sense. And JDO, so much stuff in the chat you're talking about is spot on. We do need to realize that religion is man-made. It is completely man-made. And it gives people power. And throughout history, with power, it corrupts people. Yeah. And the higher up you are, like you said, the upper echelon of whatever religion, doesn't matter. There's more power. There's more money. There's more control. There's going to be more. There's going to be more corruption. That's just.
Of course. You can't tell me that King John or King James, right? King James Bible, that this man, this fallible man, he did not take an opportunity while rewriting his version of the Bible to sneak in a couple things that might benefit his belief system. Of course he did. Yeah. He who writes it, right? I mean, we're learning through, if you read all the different religions, it's the same story. It's just different versions of it. It's subject to interpretation. And
Well, if you want to start talking about the Bible, there's that could be a whole show. You know,
the Book of Enoch, right?
Well, the Bible.
That's a whole show.
The Bible was written, and then there was a Caesar that married a pagan woman, and he combined the two religions. He gathered all the Bibles and he wrote it under one language, and that's what we use today. You know, Jesus wasn't born in December. December 24th is actually the winter solstice, and it's a pagan holiday. Jesus, the Mary and Joseph probably did the trek like in April. You know, what else? Oh, Easter! Don't even mess with Easter's nasty.
Yeah, Moloch's eggs. It's disgusting.
With the bloody eggs and all that.
The
Yeah.
more I learn, the worse it is.
And the rabbits.
All of our holidays have been turned on their head. Even our Sabbath. We're supposed to have church on Sunday. Do you know who changed that? The Catholic Church. They changed it from, we're supposed to have it on Saturday. Yeah. And we changed it to Sunday. So we're even celebrating church and celebrating God on the wrong day.
Yeah, there's so much, and it's all man. That's all man-made. It's all man-made.
Everything has been turned what works for them, opposite. Sure. Left is right, right is left, up is down. It's no wonder we're so confused.
We are
but
definitely
it's not our fault
in
either.
We're definitely in an upside down world. Hopefully we're going to come around us, and some of the things we can do, we can reach out to Felisa and the work that she's doing through Patriot Party Rocks and the Marigold Mission or the Marigold Coffee Club. You guys can, the link is in this description. We're going to have you back because this is just too much fun. I definitely want to have you back on again before the NASCAR event so we can help promote that.
Thank you.
And people in other states can reach out to you about doing some work in their state.
We'll help them. I have a whole team, like 10, 12 volunteers that are just unbelievable workers. They've been movers and shakers here in New Hampshire. And, shout out to everyone who's doing anything around the country. These type of things, the Marigold Coffee Club, it's not special. All kinds of states have all these things that are supporting. I encourage everybody to get behind Lynn Wood's campaign. I think it's Lynn Wood that wants to, on 9/11, start a boycott. Do it as long as you can. If you can only commit to that one day, that's fine. But every day you can be voting with your wallet. Every single day. If you purchase from Amazon, if you purchase from Walmart, you're voting for them. If you go out of your way to go for, a store that's a little bit smaller, even if you can vote a little bit more often for the Patriots, every bit helps. Your channel, listening to you guys to get your news versus plugging into, deep state's television. They're just going to tell you what they want you to think.
That's where we have the whole Bet on Main Street. Yeah, we are trying to build a Bet on Main Street effort where we're trying to support local businesses. Anytime you can find somebody in your area, support your local businesses and
share what everyone else is doing.
Yes.
There's so many great things. We don't know how to get involved, but there's so much to get involved in.
That's something that we did and our parents did that young people don't do is vote with their wallet, but something that really bugs me, especially about the younger generation, is they don't have the balls to give up something. I really like this, and they did something terrible. And like you said, you don't want to support when you first had this realization. You didn't want to be involved with that anymore. You wanted to move out of it. And people nowadays are like, hey, Nike did this thing that I totally disagree with at my core, and I think it's terrible. But man, I like those shoes. So I'm going to.
I don't shop at Starbucks. I sold my
Subaru. Most people don't do that. Most people don't do that. And I'm guilty of it too. Yeah. When Netflix had that kids show with that we actually
it's came out. They just changed the name back to the French name.
Well, but now I think it's only in France. Anyway, Texas came out and said they classified it as child pornography and said that they were going to arrest anyone involved in Netflix that had been involved with it. They took it off temporarily and then they moved it around. I know it's still in Europe, but I was going to drop Netflix. I was like, I can't do it. Like you said, I can't
Yeah.
still
Can't
keep
support those
Netflix
kind of
if they
things.
don't if they
We
get
don't
What did
have an
Trump say?
alternative yet, but we're building them and we will eventually get there. We have one thing that the left does not have. Well, we have a couple things that the left does not have. One, we have stamina. And two, we have them by surprise. Like I said earlier in the show, they have never anticipated that our generation would stand up to the white coats, right? We've never done that. In history, as a people, as a nation, as a globe, we've always respected the white coats or the white collar, right?
Right.
It's always been the blue collar
The authority.
where, you know, it's okay. And that's why they developed unions. They ended up capitalizing on the unions. They captured the unions. You know, I think I liked them better when they were run by the mafia. Now they're run by deep state. I mean, you know, it's
Same.
it's not, yeah, it's kind of the same thing, except for one has a moral compass and the other one doesn't. You know, come on back, Al Capone. You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, I say go woke, go
He
broke.
doesn't
And
lie. You know what I mean?
Trump said it even better. What did he say last night or the other night? Everything woke goes to shit. So I think we can
That was
all
great.
get behind that.
Yeah,
was
that
really
was
great.
great.
Yeah. So I think we can get behind that. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. We're going to have you on again. Everybody, please give us a like, share this video. Let's get behind this. Let's get behind our local businesses. Vote with your wallet and get behind what Felisa is doing. You guys can take action. These are ways that you can be a part of changing our country and our communities. So get up and stand up, America. It's time for it. Take care. See you guys
God
next
bless
time.
everybody. Thank you, Sean and Lisa.